I went into Ghostbusters with extremely low expectations, and this film met every single one of them. Well, what you just missed, what you just missed was I spilled about half of this all over my desk, all over my pants, so I really, really like A&W Diet Soda. Well, alright, let's talk about the Ghostbusters movie. Now, I don't really do movie reviews, per se, on this channel. Maybe I'll start. But I thought it was important for me to talk about this because, I mean, everybody's doing a Ghostbusters review. And my desk is still wet, and I'm sure it's going to be sticky, so this is gonna go well. Anyway, so I just got back, really, about a half hour ago from seeing it in IMAX 3D. And I have some thoughts. Now, backstory, I did see Ghostbusters when I was, you know, in the proper age range. I think I was 14, 15 maybe the first time I saw it, and it was funny then. And it was a little provocative, and it was even a little sexy. It was a little scary. I remember watching Ghostbusters 2 many years after it came out, and I was not pleased at all. I didn't think it was all that funny. I thought it was a little too goofy. I got into the Ghostbusters cartoon that was on in the 80s, so I enjoyed some of those. And then I did not play the video game that was out about 4 or 5 years ago. I understand that that's the third, basically, movie in the series, in the lore, in the canon of Ghostbusters, but I didn't play it, so whatever. So let's fast forward to now. And that first trailer came out, and oh my god, it was just awful. It was a bad trailer. I mean, I don't think anybody argues that it was a bad trailer. It was not funny, and it was loud and annoying, and everybody who didn't like it was obviously woman bashing, just bigot, and you know, you couldn't give your opinion on it because otherwise you'd be labeled a hater, and whatever. And many videos out there talking about the backlash of the feminists who call us all haters for not liking something that's not funny just because it's made by women and it's women. I don't know. I personally didn't have a problem with the fact that there were going to be 4 women being in this new Ghostbusters film. I just didn't think it was going to be funny based on what I'd seen. So let's now go to the actual film, and then we'll go to some of my thoughts on what it should have been. The actual film. I don't even know where to go with it. I really don't know what to say that wouldn't be taken as hating the film, because I didn't really hate the film. I just don't have any opinions one way or the other about it at all. It wasn't funny, okay? So first of all, I went and saw it in IMAX 3D. I think that's the intended, maybe the best way to see it, because it is it's a effects heavy film, and they throw a lot of 3D stuff in there. And I think if you saw the film in regular 2D, that stuff would just look even cheesier, because you can see that it's there for the 3D effect. And with the IMAX, which I'll come back to the IMAX part of this, but with the IMAX, it was just a bigger experience. So I did get that with this film. They did a very good job with sound design and with the visuals. It was a little on the Transformers side of things. And when I say that, I mean Transformers and Michael Bay has always gone with more is better. So more explosions, more robots on screen, more CGI, more buildings falling down, more particles everywhere. So this was a particle-orama. There was holy shit, was there green mist and blue flowy electric stuff everywhere on the screen at all times. So it was a little difficult, I guess, for my brain to take it all in at once. I was sitting in the right place in the theater. There were like 6 other people in the theater at the time. And let me remind you that I'm watching this on a Wednesday after the weekend of opening. So it's not like I'm watching it 3 weeks later. This is 5 days after the film is released, after it came out. So yeah, 6, 7 people in the theater. But anyway, I digress. The writing was interesting. And here's the thing. So I don't have any problem with any of the 4 lead actresses. I like Kate McKinnon. I think she's quirky and funny. I don't really like Melissa McCarthy, but that's only because I really only know her from Mike and Molly and her being a big dumb idiot. And so I don't really care for her that much. But I will say that she was a pleasant surprise in the film. In the trailer, they made her look like the big dumb idiot that she always is in all the roles that she plays. And in this film, she wasn't so much a big dumb idiot. She was just a character playing a role, and she did okay with it. So I'll tell you what, the big surprise in this movie was Leslie Jones, excuse me, thank you. And in the trailers, they made her look like a giant stereotype of big black woman screaming all the time, yelling her lines, and just being over the top stereotype black woman. And she wasn't. She was a New Yorker who happened to be black, who happened to be a woman. So I think that, I hope the people that were in charge of making this trailer nearly a year, what was it, 6, 7 months ago? I hope they all got fired and never work again in making trailers, because they did such a disservice to the movie. I think the buzz for the movie could have been a lot better with a much better trailer and first look, because boy, oh boy, did it just get shit on because of what it was. And to be completely honest, there's a lot of that trailer. There's a lot of stuff in that first trailer that just isn't in the film at all. I would say 4 or 5 of the jokes that fall flat in the trailer aren't even in the film. So good for Sony for like listening. The movie's not funny. Really, the movie's not funny. I went by myself because that's how I enjoy watching a film. I like to go by myself. I didn't laugh at all through the film, and I gave like a half chuckle, like twice, 2 times. Once was a off character, meaning not one of the main characters, and then once toward the very end, it was Kate McKinnon, one of Kate McKinnon's lines, and it was kind of a throwaway line, and that was something that I found quirky funny. So it's not funny. It was probably more suspenseful, scary at times than I was expecting. Because of the trailers. The trailers all look kind of silly. And to be honest, the action was a little bit of a surprise. There was a lot. I kind of got into some of the action scenes more than I thought I would, because I don't know, from the trailer it just didn't look like it was going to be much fun. And I actually did have a little bit of fun for a very short, brief moment. And when I say brief, I think it was a 20-second scene that I really got into what was going on, and then I was immediately brought out of it. So let's discuss what that's about. The Imax experience was distracting, and here's why. The regular film was in your letterbox format, and it was on a big screen. It was on a big IMAX screen. But the problem was a lot of the effects came out of that letterbox and filled the entire IMAX screen. So to be clear, the effects were some of the effects were in IMAX, while the film stayed in a letterbox format. And one of the points in the film, and I'm not giving anything away because this is in the trailer, it's when the Leslie Jones character is on top of the Melissa McCarthy character, slapping the ghost out of her. And you see the upshot as like from Melissa McCarthy's point of view, and Leslie Jones is leaning over into the camera, and her necklace that says Patty. Now on the trailer, it just looks like this is the scene, but in the IMAX experience, the scene cuts here, and then the Patty necklace is swinging below, outside of the actual frame of the film, And it's just so ridiculous. It's like your eye is immediately drawn to it, and I know it's done for the 3D effect. It's supposed to look like this thing is hanging in front, and it's on a different plane in the 3D space. But once you realize that that's hanging out in space and it's in front of a black bar on the screen, then for the rest of the film, and there was probably 40 minutes of film after that, I couldn't stop noticing the effects floating on the outside of the actual film plane or film box or whatever like that. So terrible effect, terrible. It's just so dumb to see that and be now looking for it because I saw it. So it didn't do, for me, it didn't do what I assume they intended, which was to really, really immerse me in this world that they're building, and I think that Patty's necklace is somehow falling into my face. I don't know. It didn't make any sense. So let's talk about motivation and the character development and all that good stuff. So the basic story is the Kristen Wiig character and the Melissa McCarthy character used to be friends a long time ago, and they wrote a book about paranormal, and now this book has been given new life because Melissa McCarthy put it online, and that's how those two characters come together. So she goes to visit Melissa McCarthy, and Kate McKinnon is working with her in this little shitty lab in some shitty college, and then they go and see their first ghost, and they're all happy because they finally see this ghost. And that's just when Kristen Wiig gets kicked out of her Columbia University, where she's about to be tenured because all this stuff comes out, and Columbia can't have a tenured professor who is a goofball like that. So, blah, anyway. Of course, there's the scene of them stealing a bunch of equipment from the shitty college that Melissa McCarthy and Kate McKinnon were working at. It's the exact same scene, basically, as from the original Ghostbusters when they took all their equipment. Or was it? I don't really know. I'm almost not inclined to talk about the rest of the film because I want to talk more about what this film is. It's not a remake, and it's not a sequel. It's a reboot. So let's talk about what a reboot is. A reboot is supposed to be a reimagining of characters and story of an original film. And what shouldn't happen so much is you shouldn't do scenes exactly the way they are. You shouldn't have, for fuck's sake, you shouldn't have cameos of the original actors in your reboot. That's disrespectful to the original material. It's just a dumb idea, and they did that in this film. Everybody pretty much who was alive except for Rick Moranis, because he actually has some integrity as an actor and he's decided not to do acting anymore and he's just being a family guy. So good for Rick, but everybody else has a cameo in this and they're terrible. They're bad cameos. I don't want to give away who's who and who's in it and where they are and stuff like that, but it's just so disappointing. It's just, seeing them in this film is a disappointment. They're either in it for such a short, tiny little scene, or they're just smacking, they're just shitting on their old character. They're shitting on the franchise, on the property. So that was a disappointment. And what else can we talk about? We can talk about all the films that they borrowed from to make this one film. So the one action sequence that I really enjoyed, I realized shortly afterwards that it was a sequence that I had seen before, and it was from Zack Snyder's 300. It was that very stylized rushing in, killing people as you're walking through. And God damn it, if they didn't do that scene exactly, except it was going in the opposite direction. So if you see the film and you are familiar with the film 300, you'll recognize exactly when that happens, and you'll be like, oh yeah, Greg talked about that. About 300. So yeah, that was a thing. Toward the very end, there was a scene that I was like, oh my god, this is the end of Poltergeist, which then became the end of Interstellar. So, I mean, it was just, there were such dumb scenes in this film. And at one point, it literally became a cartoon. So I guess they had that going for them. Let's see. Our villain, oh my god, the villain. Okay, so first of all, the villain had no backstory. The villain had no motivation because he had no backstory. And he didn't appear to have any reason to have the abilities that he had. And I won't give away how he becomes the major threat villain, but that part was ridiculous in itself. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It like they didn't explain anything. It was just there. They just, here, this is what's going on. Here's a set piece. How the fuck did that happen? But who cares, because we have to get the story moving. We had to get more of the buddy girls together, because that was important to Paul Feig, to show these girls overcoming all the men that are trying to hold them down, and all the powers that say, no, you can't have credit for this because you're women, or not because you're women. I mean, that's not what they said. They were holding them down because they didn't need the New York City to be in a panic, which makes sense. But it was just all like, oh, we're really proud of you that you did this, but we can't tell anybody, so we're gonna pretend to arrest you now so that you look like bad people. And it's just so dumb, so dumb. And they use another. It was funny because they used. God. All right, so I don't even know how deep to go into this, because it's like things just appeared. Things just happened. There's no feeling of time moving on. At least in the original Ghostbusters, there was this weird montage of going from the first ghost that they caught to leading up to something big, and there was this montage of them becoming, which led into why they needed a fourth Ghostbuster in the first place. Why they hired Ernie Hudson, because they were working so hard and so long that they needed this guy. The Patty character just showed up out of nowhere and like, hey man, I saw a ghost, so I'm gonna help you. Okay, and that was kind of in the first act, which. It just seemed rushed. It seemed really rushed. I wrote a much better idea for a Ghostbusters reboot, remake, whatever, and I'll probably share that at some time, and I'll flesh it out a little bit better. But holy crap, this was a disaster. It was just not funny. Okay, so the Chris Helmsworth, the receptionist guy. The Chris Helmsworth character was so stupid. Like, stupid to the point where it was like, if you've ever watched Cheers back in the 80s, and it was Carla's husband's new wife, who was actually the real wife of Casey Kasem, I believe. She was this blonde, big-titted, bubbly idiot, just so stupid. It was kind of her, but in a hunky guy now, and so how disappointing for Paul Feig to put somebody so stupid, a character so stupid into the film. Now he gets some sort of weird retribution because he gets to play a different character later, but that's kind of spoiler territory, and I don't want to get into that, but. I mean, wow, why would you even write a character so stupid for your film? There was nobody that stupid in the original Ghostbusters. There were characters with motivation. There were explanations as to how they got to where they got. I'm so confused as to how this script how this script was the one that they chose and the one that they said, yeah, this is the one we want to make. This is the film. Oh, and I'm just gonna spoil the beginning because it's the beginning. It doesn't matter. But in the very beginning, there's a pretty scary scene to open the film. And what's interesting about that is that it looks like the character who's involved in this very scary scene is killed. And in the next scene, he's not dead. So I don't understand how that's even a thing. How you can put somebody in such peril and then just cut the scene because obviously something extremely horrible is going to happen to him. And then cut. And then they start the film, blah, 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 blah. And then, oh, there he is. I'm like, well, how? Like, what? Why? I did not enjoy watching 90% of this film. There was maybe 10% of it, maybe 8-9 minutes of it that was okay. The rest of it was just bad. It was bad. It was bad. It was Superman 4 bad. I mean, it was... I did not hit her. I did not. She's a liar. She's lying. Oh, hi, Mark. You know, it's that kind of... You didn't give these talented people anything to do, so they did what... Oh, and I just want to go off the rails here for a second. There are many long shots of this film that you hear the actors saying things, but because they're on a big IMAX screen, you can actually see them, and their mouths are not moving. They're not acting out the lines. These are just lines that are shoved in, and that's inexcusable. It's inexcusable filmmaking to not even bother to film the scene that is written in the script or whatever, or the lines not being delivered by the actors on the screen. That's sloppy. That's sloppy and irresponsible. And poor Ernie Hudson. Poor Ernie Hudson. He gets another 7 seconds of screen time in this film. You know, too bad, man. Anyway, so that was my terrible review of a terrible movie. And when I say terrible, it's hard to say that it's terrible because, I mean, a lot of people put a lot of time and money and effort into this film. Just not the people who really mattered. The writers, the director, and some of the actors. I feel like at some point the actors could have said, well, my character probably would say something like this right here, and you know what? Maybe they did. Maybe they took 8 takes, and 6 of them were really, really funny stuff, but Paul Feig decided, you know, well, should we go with safe or safer? This one is a little more female empowering, so we'll go with this safer one, which is female empowerment. And I know he must have been on some sort of a mission here because it's all about females. It's all about bad male characters, stupid male characters, mean male characters, and oh, so much cringe in this film. So much cringe. It just, don't see this movie. I mean, don't. Anyway, so sorry this went on so long, but I wanted to make sure I got everything out before I forgot some of it. I guess the next movie I'll see, maybe if anybody likes this review, I'll go see more movies and maybe talk more about movies. But for fuck's sake, I went into Ghostbusters with extremely low expectations, and this film met every single one of them. So on that level, the film worked. On nearly every other level, no. So that's been my review of Ghostbusters. I'm sorry I don't have any flashy video that pops up there or parts of the movie to show or even, you know, cutaways to scenes. But if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you've seen the trailers, you know what I'm talking about. So there you have it. Until next time, maybe I'll watch another movie again. Later, jerks.